We're breaking down anything and everything Utica City FC related. This is the Keeper's Corner podcast with your hosts, Matt Sterling and Brandon Brooks. Let's get into it. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Keeper's Corner podcast. Matt and Brandon here. And it's another Wednesday night show. Gonna try to keep these as regular as we can. Kind of depends on my schedule. I apologize for the bouncing around, but hey, we got back-to-back weeks on the same night, and that's a win in my book. Though I will say next week, I don't think we're going to be recording on Wednesday.
Probably not. No, I don't. I don't think that's going to happen.
No, I mean, as much as we love doing this, there's this holiday thing going on, and we have a feeling most of you will be too busy to pay attention anyway. So. Besides, he wants to compete with the NBA and NFL on one of their biggest days of the year.
Yes, because that's the reason that we're not.
Yes. Yeah, we definitely draw a crowd comparable to those. Matt, whether you win that challenge or not, you're still getting your flag back, so.
It's all down to interpretation.
Everything's made up and the points don't mean a thing.
I like how you changed that just enough so that it wasn't a reference to a different thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't.
Yeah. Big weekend for Utica there, out in California.
California way.
Mm-hmm. 2 games. Both had some questions regarding them. We're going to get into it. If you're new to the show, well, what took you so long? It's our 5th year. Hello. Make sure you hit that like, hit the subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Find us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, Threads, Instagram. I don't know. Do I need to make a blue sky at this point?
Yeah, you know what? I think it might not hurt. It might not be a bad idea. You should do that.
Okay. I was going to try to bring back the TikTok now that I actually got the video aspect working again, had time to make one, and then I'm like, all right, it's getting banned in a month, so why bother? So, yeah. It was a weekend. But for those new, and to refresh ourselves, and for anyone longtime listener, break down the games in 4 parts. We have a stat that tells the story, a play that changed the game, something we need to work on moving forward, and then we'd like to end on a positive note and say, hey, what's a positive takeaway from this game? Sometimes a few of those things are hard to find. Other times it's glaringly obvious.
I think, in my opinion, these 2 games, at least one of those is a little bit more obvious than others.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
I think, yeah. But we'll go in chronological order. So we'll start with the Strykers game on Friday night.
Yeah.
I know that was a late one.
Yes, it was.
Technical difficulties during the broadcast, certainly frustrating. And
in
if
this league, it's what you expect.
If you're someone like me where you have notifications on for any post from Twitter for the league or Utica City, and you're getting updates and highlights before they're happening on the Pluto TV stream, it was doubly frustrating.
Or when, or no, that was the next one. We'll get to that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's stuff to work through. I was in contact with the person running the MASL social media. Brandon, I confirmed with you. We were able to get that fixed for the second game, so that way, the updates were at least coming out live. Like, the guys were standing on the field for overtime, and that's when I got the update that the game was going to overtime. I was like, great, this works perfectly. It's not ruined.
Which basically means that somebody was sitting there watching on Pluto TV since it is behind, which is smart. I mean, as much as you want to get the information out there as quickly as possible, you also don't want to kind of spoil it for half of your fans that might be watching on Pluto and not, not paying for like Paramount or something like that.
Yeah. And on top of it, with it going through Golazo, you have the stream that they're getting from the game, plus then you have the Paramount stream that's delayed from that, and then you have Pluto TV, which is delayed even more. Just a
Yep.
whole bunch of stuff to figure out timing on. Looks like we've got that under control. So, hey,
Yes.
hopefully
Kudos.
that's fixed moving forward. But Brandon, it was a 9-6 victory. I think you had predicted something a little closer.
A little closer, yeah.
Closer.
Just because this was going to be our first game coming out of the gate. It was going to be a late game, which means that the guys were going to be thrown off a little bit. And yeah, it's in typical Utica fashion. It kind of felt like it's just started slow and ramped up from there.
Mm-hmm.
That just seems to be, a reoccurring thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm taking the point on that one. I called 8-5. It went 9-6. Just underestimated or either underestimated offense or overestimated defense, however you want to look at it. But I nailed the goal line.
Gonna give yourself some sort of a pat on the back.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, look, you can give yourself a pat on the back. You said what, 6-5 Utica, so you nailed the Strykers score line.
I would have been right if I said that score for the other game.
Mm-hmm. So close. You just picked the wrong day.
Wrong day.
Big game for Utica to come back. The last time they were out playing at Toyota Arena, it was a depressing scene to say the least, in which the wheels fell off in the third quarter, and boy, for a minute there, the feeling came back.
Yeah.
It's deja vu all over again.
When things started off with Marco Fabian, I was just like, oh no, here we go.
Mm-hmm.
So it was I was on a little bit of pins and needles there, but
oh, absolutely,
it was a roller coaster. Honestly.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's get into it. Brandon.
No.
I'll let you. Okay, fine. I'll take the lead then.
Oh, fine.
Oh, you want the fine? Good.
Fine.
Stat that tells the story. What do you got?
Oh, I was trying to figure this one out because there's a few different things. There's a few different things to kind of talk about here, kind of break down. And I mean, obviously, there's certain people that came out swinging with a nice hat trick. You've got a lot of, I don't want to say, you don't really have much. Honestly, you don't see much in the way of like defensive stuff in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, this felt like a very offensive affair. So I'm actually going to not take the expected one, and I'm actually going to say that like this game, kind of as I kind of thought might end up being the case, focused around two players.
Mm-hmm.
Calvin and Marco for a good bit of it, So all I'm saying is basically, they were the ones that kind of carried the stat lines for a good bit. At least Marco in the beginning, mm-hmm. and Calvin in the end. We kind of said that this was going to sort of be, those were two guys to focus on in this game, and they were. And so like my stat that I'm thinking of is basically just, their stat lines as players in this game. Mm-hmm. I actually thought Marco might end up squeezing out a hat trick, an early game hat trick.
Looked like it for a while there.
Yeah, I thought he was going to squeeze out a first half hat trick, and he didn't. But it wouldn't have been surprising if he did. So I mean, between the two of them, you're looking at 5 goals. I mean, I think that I think that that's just pretty impressive between just two players. So I don't know. I'm kind of going with that.
Okay.
A little bit of a weird one.
All right. I guess I have an adjacent one that I jotted down just in case you took my main one. The adjacent one is that we held Fabian and Stinson, their two best goal scorers, scoreless for the final 23 minutes and 7 seconds.
That's a good one.
So in crunch time, when it mattered most, our defense locked it down.
Yes, they did.
On their best players. But for me, it's Andrew Coughlin. In the first half, he allowed 4 goals on 8 shots, only making 2 saves. In the second half, he had 10 saves.
Let's say he locked in.
And
it's a slow start. It's the slow start that Utica has.
Yeah, and I don't know so much if it's a slow start as outlasting the other team. So in this one, under Obasi, Empire pushes up. They're playing a 3-man press pretty much the entire game.
Yep.
Orozco or De Lima is playing up high out of net.
Yes.
And at the end, Utica was just running them off the turf. Is it just better conditioning? You know, when the other team is at full energy and you're at full energy, pretty evenly matched.
Yeah.
But as your endurance is better and they get a little more winded, muscles start to hurt a little more. They're playing a higher energy style than they want to play, maybe. Do you just grind them down?
So I'm actually... I'm somewhat in agreement for this. And the main reason is, maybe endurance was kind of a heavy focus in the off season and training and stuff, because in any other, and I'm going to kind of lead this one into also kind of referencing the second game. In the past, we would have seen these guys go hard on Saturday, which they did, and they would go hard on Sunday, or sorry, Friday, Saturday, I think. Yeah, I had that off by a day. Either way, we'd see them go hard in the first game, and then the second game they would go hard for maybe the first half, maybe the first 3, and then they would start to slow down. This team was consistent across the weekend. I mean, they were like the Energizer Bunny. They were just going. So I could actually see that being the case, even just looking at the first game. That conditioning may have been a factor here, and the fact that Empire was on a heavy offensive high press the entire game, and you just can't keep that up. And I mean, especially when we started getting those quick counterattacks, and we're making them run the field over and over and over to get back. I mean, it started to show its wear, especially towards the end when Orozco is or whoever is playing keeper at that time is kind of having to resort to a little bit more physical measures to stop us from, oh God, you're bright.
I realized I never turned on my ring light.
But it's just one of those things, like it's the fact that they kind of had to try and be a little bit more physical to stop us. Yeah, it does make a bit of sense. So I could see that one.
All right, play that changed the game. I think there's an easy one, which anyone would say is the double blue card.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I think, I don't want to say bigger than that, but potentially more important as far as momentum goes. Just after Utica ties the game 6-6 early in the 4th, Marco Fabian one-on-one with Andrew Coughlin, and huge save. Now, whether that was Coughlin finding the ball or just Fabian picking his spot poorly and kind of hitting Coughlin.
Yeah.
That's up for debate. What's not up for debate is, in that case, Marco Fabian, whose name has forever been ruined in my mind because of a pronunciation by our buddy Doc on Striking Fury, where he enunciated as Fabian, and my brain immediately started playing the clip from Mulan with the matchmaker. Fa Mulan. But he was kept out of the scoreline on that one. It could have been his hat trick. It would have put them back up 7-6 at that point.
Yep.
Sucked any momentum out of Utica's sails, and who knows how things go after that.
Okay.
As for you?
I don't know if I can pick a better one than that. I mean, I was kind of I was looking at. I was actually in common with Huber on this one. Is just coming into the fourth, and we scored late in the third, and then the fact that we were able to come into the fourth and continue that momentum instead of just having them answer back, and we're just back to back and forth. The fact that we were able to get that goal kind of felt that we were able to start leading into starting that train. And honestly, that the fact that is that kind of is my play, that just gives more merit to yours, because yours literally stopped the reversal of momentum. And it's just like, so then it's just like, well, that one clearly is the better play. So, I mean, come on, that's clearly got to be the game changing play. Duh. So, I mean, I'll say the Keaton's second goal that kind of started the momentum, but obviously I have to give, I have to tip my hat for the fact that Andrew was able to keep the momentum going against one-on-one against Marco. So yeah, I have to go with that.
Alrighty. Well, what needs improvement?
I have a couple of things.
Okay. I have a feeling some of these will match up and we'll be in agreement.
Yeah, probably. This is actually, so I've been thinking about this, and I'm going to say it for this one, but it apply actually, I mean, it really applies for the whole weekend. Like, I have the same what needs improvement across both games. Ball control, pass lines, and honestly, Vinny Dantas. Those are my three things that need to improve, and I will elaborate.
Okay.
So, I mean, ball control, honestly, it kind of leans a little bit towards Vinny. He lost the ball a lot. Now, granted, he did get double teamed a lot, but other times he didn't. And he still ended up just kind of dropping it. And it led to just, turnover after turnover. It felt like every time he would get the ball, it would get turned over when he got it, or shortly after. So, that was a problem. Pass lines, I feel like I harp on this every year. It just feels like, there's a lot of times where we're not putting enough on it, or we're passing into an area where there's nobody there, and I don't understand why we put it there. So it's either, improving our passing lines or improving our understanding of our plays and positioning. One of those two. And it's something that just needs to be cleaned up every year. It honestly applies to basically any team, really, but they just didn't feel in either game for the most part. They didn't feel crisp. We had some serious spotlights to our passes, though. I mean, but so there were highlights, but it was more highlights than it was more missteps than it was highlights. But it's the first couple games. It's the first couple games. We'll get there.
Yeah.
And then Vinny, in general, there was one play in the first game that I was screaming at my TV, and it was where the ball kind of came his way, and it got blocked by the keeper, but it didn't. He didn't have it under control, and none of the defenders had it, and all he had to do was take like 2 steps forward, maybe 3, and he would have had it. He would have had the ball, and he could have even just gone for a one-timer. Like, all he had to do was step up to the ball, and he didn't do it. And that kind of, I wanted to, I screamed at the TV, like, step up to the friggin' ball.
Yeah, he tried that cheeky little heel shot.
Yes.
From in the box, where it's like, man, if you just settle and turn, you're gonna have a better shot. You can pick your spot.
Yep.
I know you're trying to be sneaky, but it wasn't even much of a worm burner.
Yeah.
Straight to the keeper.
But I may have negative things to say about him. Just like Frank, I have faith in the guy. He's going to get there. I know he's going to get there. You know, he was a top contender he was pretty, if you look at stats, he was right up there with Frank last season, and everybody doubted Frank for a while. I have my doubts right now, but I don't have any doubt that he will get there. It's just how long it takes for him to get there.
Yeah, he doesn't have the pedigree that Frank has, but he's had a long, successful career.
Yes.
And, with this offense, with the addition of Kelvin, who knows what Chelier develops into, but he collected his first goal this weekend.
Yes, he did.
We might just see him deployed more as a decoy. Someone that's going to draw that double team in the middle and then pass it out.
Yep. That's true, too.
Which
it's very possible.
If it's a new system, it's similar to what Texas played, but it's not the same.
Right.
We saw him back on defense a couple times. So, it is... I agree. We'll give him a chance to grow into it and see what it is. We're not going to call him a bust and an overpayment at this point. It's 2 games. But we do need to see more out of him moving forwards.
Yes. So, and I just felt that was something perfect to bring up. It's just, I would like to see more from him. That is something that I would like to see improvement on, is just what we see out of him. And I know it'll get there. Just, we're not seeing it yet. But it's the first weekend. So, I had a few things that needed to be improved on.
It's fine. Mine kind of go hand in hand. Don't let their best players beat you.
Yeah.
Because this game, we talked about it before. This was my key, was shutting down Marco Fabian. Double team him, don't let him out of your sight, And he had a lot of room to move far too often in the first half.
Yes, he did.
He said, make Justin Stinson beat you. Okay. He had 2 goals. That's fine. But you also gave 2 to Marco, who, as was pointed out on the broadcast, has scored in every single game that he's played in the MASL.
Yep.
And, yeah, if you limited him to 1, I could live with it. But you gave him the brace. It was early. It gave the team life.
Yes.
I think his second one is the one that tied the game at 3. Or gave them a lead at 3-2.
That is the one that gave them the lead. Yes,
3-2.
That was their second lead of the game.
Just pick them and stick them. Somebody man mark. And that kind of carries over to the defensive set pieces, which cost the team a couple goals. One of them being Marco's first one.
Yes, it did.
I don't know what happened there communication-wise. Nelson was kind of floating in no man's land. Not quite on the wall, but also trying to be the guy to break up a passing lane between... oh, God, who was taking that one? I think it was Andy Reyes and Fabian and someone else that was posted up behind him on the wall, back there for the backdoor toe poke if possible. But just, I know it's a tough assignment, but you got to shade Fabian on that one. If they get the backdoor toe poke, they get the backdoor toe poke. That's a skill thing at that point because the angle's tough.
Right.
Especially on a set piece. But you can't let Marco Fabian have a 8-foot clearance and a 45-degree shot.
No, because he will use it.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of that's got to be improved. Positive. It's the first time you've beaten the Strykers. You got 3 points. That was the whole goal of this West Coast trip. If you listen to any of the pundits around the league, was hey, if Utica gets 3, that's a good start to the season.
Mm-hmm.
And it was that stick-to-itiveness in this game. You were down 2 late in the third quarter, and you scored 5 unanswered goals.
Which is huge.
Massive. It, saved the game, saved your 3 points, and before you knew what was going to happen on Saturday night, hey, you have something that you can go home about and enjoy.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
What's your positive?
Well, I don't want to say beating the Empire because it made me happy and sad all at the same time. But it was better. It was a better happy sad than the alternative. Couldn't we just tie? Couldn't we just do that? But no, I think honestly, my positive is just the fact that we started off our season with a win. But on top of that, we're also able to start off the season with Calvin, who has a lot of hype around him to begin with. I mean, coming in, we didn't see much from him last season, and then this season opening up with a hat trick, a late hat trick, but a hat trick nonetheless. So I mean, we got to see him showcased in a penalty kick. We got to see him showcased on special teams with the power play goal, and we got to see him score on even strength. So we got to see him in 3 different scenarios take it to the net. And that just, I mean, I feel like everywhere you look today, I mean, he's the topic of the town. Is just, what he did in one weekend. So, I think he just the fact that we were able to start off with a win and start off with him coming out and performing. I mean, if you look back to, again, all of the doubt around Frank last season because he couldn't produce. Mm-hmm. This guy just took it to the house, like right on his first game. Just looking at this game. I mean, first regular season game.
Yeah, like we said last week, is we really weren't sure what to expect because he looked phenomenal at Kansas City, and then they adjusted and they kind of shut him down they did shut him down at home.
Right.
But also Frank and Nilton weren't there for that game, so was it just, well, he's the number 1 goal scoring option, so we're going to take him away.
Right.
And now the league's on notice, so we have to see what comes of it.
Yep. And what teams are going to do to adjust for it.
Mm-hmm. That was a 9-6, 3 points on the board. Utica closed their book on the Strykers. It's the only time they're playing up this year. And they drove 80 miles down south to Oceanside to take on the Strykers, who, I don't know. All right, so I know it's different with our small cities, but if you drive 45 minutes, is that still the same city?
You'd think it wouldn't be, because, I mean...
Like, it's about the distance between Syracuse and Utica.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm like... Shouldn't it no. Because how many... how many places do you drive through just on that drive?
Yeah, I know there's like suburbs and rural New York rural New York versus SoCal.
Right,
But
right.
uh, okay, maybe you're the Oceanside Strykers. Okay, never mind. I see why they didn't do that. That's kind of hard to say really fast.
Really?
Plus, if you shorten it, it's the OSS.
Oh God.
Spy
What did
Kids,
they do?
anybody?
Oh, I was thinking, what did they do to get kicked out of school for a day?
No, I was the OSS. That was the precursor to the CIA,
Oh,
which is
okay.
what they used in Spy Kids for the organization that operated the child espionage unit.
Do you know how long it's been since I watched a Spy Kids?
Well, go rewatch them because
No.
who else would have Steve Buscemi say something? I got to get it right. Do you think God stays in heaven because he too is afraid of what he created?
Why is something just... Why do they try and shove profound stuff in a kid's movie?
As he talks about the weird hybrid animals he created, like the
Mm-hmm.
lizard or the spider monkey, which was actually a spider ape because it was a gorilla on a giant spider bottom.
Okay,
I'm
Mr.
getting
Technical.
pedantic here. And then you had Elijah
Mm-hmm.
Wood as the guy in number three who just shows up for a cameo to die really fast.
Yep. Yes, he does. Yeah,
Mhm.
I remember that. I do know that much. Yep.
Great, great kids movies.
Mm, I guess. I suppose, if you say so.
If I remember correctly, the guy that played Floop in the first one had like won a Tony for his work on Broadway.
Oh, okay. I was like, he won it for that?
No, no. Well,
Like,
like you have a Tony Award winning actor playing just the weird guy.
yeah, yeah.
And they do give him a song in it.
Yes, you're not wrong.
All right, we've gone way out into left field.
You took us there.
I know.
I didn't. I went kicking and screaming.
Oh, another good movie, soccer movie. Will Ferrell,
Never watched it.
Mike Ditka's in it. 85 Bears doing the Super Bowl shuffle. But we're gonna shuffle on back to the soccer's game.
There you go.
6-5. We'll get to the call. We'll get to the. It'll come. But we're just gonna talk game for
We'll
now.
get there.
We will get there. I promise. What's your stat that tells? Never mind. I let you take the. I had you go first last time. I'll take it. Stat that tells the story. -3 on power, 2 or 3 on power plays. You gave up a power play goal. You gave up a shorthanded goal, and you didn't convert. And I believe technically the game-winning goal in overtime was with 2 seconds left on the power play. Special teams.
Yes. I
Special
believe
teams
so.
that killed this team last year reared its ugly head at the
Yes, it
worst
did.
time.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, it was. You take away that shorthanded goal, you win this in regulation.
Yeah. Yeah. I really think. I mean, as soon as I saw that they were making a break for it with that, I'm like, oh no, please don't do it. And then they did it. They sunk it, and it's like, oh, why do we have to deal with? Why do we always have to give up shorthanded goals?
Mm-hmm. Achilles heel, man. Just can't believe it. All right. What is your stat that tells the story?
I'm actually going to kind of go with what you used in the first game.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, I'll just say it, goalkeeping. It is a complete surprise with the stat lines that we see for this game, because honestly, they tell the story of the way that you would have expected this to go,
Mm-hmm.
with that certain event happening in reverse and the score being flipped. Because Andrew Coughlin played an amazing game. I mean, 24 shots and he allows 6 with 18 assists. I mean, against the Strykers, he ends up with a 75%. Is on his second game this season is amazing.
Behind a defense that we had serious questions about.
I mean, you might have questioned most of them. One person that I did not question on that defense all weekend is Juan. Juan, oh my God. I am so thankful for that man being on this team. He is already showing, he came out and he performed this whole weekend. You know, he was exactly what we needed him to be in both games. Yes, we had some hiccups, but sorry, I know I sidetracked, but you kind of led me here with the defense comment. I mean, Juan was just, I can't sing his praises enough. Like, he is doing phenomenal on our defense. I mean, there are so many plays that he broke up. There are so many times that, I mean, it was him that got the save that kept it out of the goal at one point after it beat Andrew.
2 minutes into the game, the backheel save that took it right off the line.
Like, what else do you have to say about this guy?
Hey, and think about it. I don't think he was near any of the guys that scored goals. Like, he was not the closest defender on any goal given up. So he had a 0 goals allowed weekend.
Yeah.
He pretty much man-marked Tavoy Morgan in the Strykers game. And
yes, he did.
Tavoy was a non-factor.
No, he absolutely, you know, quashed him, and that was, we needed that. He's one of their key players, and being able to shut him down, you need that.
Tyler, I will, to address your comment on the blue card, we'll get to that with the officiating in this later on. Yeah, we got opinions on a lot of things that'll be coming.
I just wanted to really quick touch on why I said that, you know, this game kind of made it look like, I mean, based on the stats, if you just looked at the goalkeeper stats, this was a different game, because Andrew with, you know, 75% with 24 shots and 18 saves. And then you look at Boris Pardo, which maybe this is just because the defense, you know, did its job as well. But I mean, the fact that there was only 14 shots and we scored on 5 of those, and he ended with a 664. I mean, that's pretty low for him, if I'm honest. It feels low. But again, that could also be attributed to their defense. So
they were without Cardenas, they were without Serda injury, but
it just it tells a kind of a different story than what we saw.
Yeah, and like we said off stream, you know, it's not like their defense is bad without them. Right. They still have Ruggles, they still have Ben Raymond, they have experienced guys back there.
Yes.
Your play that changed the game.
Do you really want that answer? I'm actually trying to think about that one, because it's hard, because it was such a back and forth that you never really knew which way this was going to go. I think, honestly, just the fact that we were able to hang in and even take a point from the Strykers, considering the last time we met with the Strykers and things ended the way they did in Utica, and then for this game to come around and we actually take them to overtime and actually take a point. I guess at that point, you know, if I had to pick a play that changed the game, I mean, I guess technically it would be when Kelvin got his second hat trick and we were able to tie things up and then keep that momentum into the rest of the game without giving up another goal with, 8 minutes left, 7 minutes left. Like, just the fact that we were able to hold that line.
Yeah, 8.5 minutes of not giving up a goal against the Strykers or Sockers. That's pretty good.
Yes.
Pretty good stretch.
So it's not really a play, I guess, but you know what I mean.
I mean, I'm just really going to harp on it. This game is play that changed the game. Short-handed goal. Guys, come on.
Yeah.
You bad.
Stop it.
Bad. I don't know what else to... Yes, you're on the power play. You should be pushing forward. But this happens too often where you get caught up way too high. I just... it kills me. It kills me. I don't know what else needs to be said about it, except what needs improvements. Special teams. Guys, stop giving up shorthanded goals. Didn't this team lead the league in them last year?
I wouldn't be surprised if we did. We gave them up a lot last season.
Stats. Hold on. I will find it because, my God, it was bad last year too. We gave up like what, 2 or 3 in one game against Tacoma. Last year, shorthanded goals allowed, regular season. Yeah, 5. Yep. The next closest was Empire with 3.
Yeah. That's not a stat that you want to have.
No. Now, at the other end, you scored 4 shorthanded goals, which was the most in the league. But
I don't know if that's still something to be... I mean, yes, getting the shorthanded goals is something to be happy about.
That's good.
Yeah.
But it's still a -1 on shorthanded goals.
Yeah.
Just clean it up. Clean it up.
Please.
It's just got to be cleaned up. Because the set piece in this game, with the quick pass around where you had Kelvin working as a decoy, was just beautiful.
Yep.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah, and we had some absolutely great set pieces. We had some fantastic, at certain times, crisp, well-designed plays, great passing, which again, I know I said was a negative, and it is for most of the weekend, but there were highlights. There were a lot of times when, we just, all of a sudden, things just clicked.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone was where they needed to be. The passes were nice, fast, crisp, on target, and we executed.
The give and go that Kelvin and Logan had to start the scoring for Utica.
Yes. That was a fantastic assist.
Oh, it's beautiful. Just laid it right off for him. A quick boom. Defense is going to turn on you because you're closer to the goal.
Yep.
Just pop it back to me. They're going to have my back. I'm 4 foot away, and I will have me versus Boris Pardo.
Right.
And given his performance this weekend, I believe Kelvin has it in his mind that he can beat any goalkeeper at any time.
He definitely shows that he can. I mean, the fact that he was able to beat Boris Pardo 3 times. I mean, he's kind of he's one of the gold standards consistently in this league as far as keepers go.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can get 3 past him in one game, you're doing all right. Now, granted, it's not just him doing it. It is a team effort.
Yeah.
And that can't be understated. I mean, again, without Logan's, great passing there, that goal doesn't happen.
I guess we should, we haven't mentioned this yet. Not just Logan. He was Captain Roberts in this one.
You're right. He was Captain Roberts. You are correct.
Nate sat out, probably load management, which makes sense. 14 months
Yes.
without playing a game. No need to push him back-to-back nights. But it's great to see another OG Utica player get that armband.
Yes. Deserved.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's temporary. Deserved.
And yes, Tyler, we are going to lose Kelvin for a few games. We're going to get to this later, but might as well bring it up now since it's in the chat.
Yeah.
There is a Kings League World Cup. Kings League started over in Spain with a former player. There's a Mexican league. That's where Gabriel Costa was playing the first game and missed in Tacoma for the Strykers. A few other guys that used to play in the league are down there now just because they can't play in the league, visas being what they are. And it runs January 1st, January 12th. So there's a pretty good chance we don't see Kelvin for the first 3 Baltimore games.
Yeah. What is it? It's home
away, home.
Home away home.
Which that's the upside. Baltimore has yet to show me that they can win consistently away from TU Arena.
Yep.
And it's a new year. There's new players. Who knows? But history is on our side. And Dantas will have another game under his belt before the first one.
Right.
know,
that's when I mean, not getting ahead of myself here, but I think that's when we potentially see Dantas start to prove himself. Because the next couple games, which we'll get to, you're not proving much.
No.
We'll get to that.
All right. Brandon, what needs to change for you moving forwards?
I already said.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did I already forget?
It was my thing for Empire was for the whole weekend.
Oh,
Passing
damn.
lines, the passes, the ball control, and I really need to see more from Vinny. So those are my 3 things for across the weekend.
Okay.
But I'll just reiterate those 3 right here.
Positive takeaway from this one?
Positive. We took a point from the Strykers.
The Strykers are 2 games in. They only have 2 points on the year.
Yeah.
Remember when I said Utica would finish ahead of them in the standings?
Yes.
I'm not saying I was right because it's so early in the season, but
you're gonna take the win where you can get
I'm taking it for now. Utica looks a lot better than some detractors from outside the area have said. Honestly, they looked better than I thought by forcing overtime.
Yeah.
Because I predicted 5-4. So close again.
So close.
So close. Like I'm just off a little bit. I think what stings the most about this one is the last time Utica played the Strykers was March 13th, 2022. And Utica lost by 1 goal, score of 6-5.
Oh no.
In which a blown call from a referee gave the Strykers the winning goal. From that one spawned under review.
Yeah.
And the coach's challenge. It wasn't official reviews. If I remember, those came because of the Boris Pardo play on Willie Spur.
Yes.
Willie Spur up in Tacoma now. Glad, he was back in the league last year. Always great news for that. But that play was traumatizing for anybody that saw it.
Agreed. Absolutely.
And it was baffling to anyone watching the replay how it wasn't more obvious. But it got us a few things. So I'm interested to see if there's any kind of fallout from this one. Because boy, did it, as Craig Elston put on the broadcast turned into the Shane Butler Show.
Yes, I remember that.
Now, Butler, if you guys don't know, he's a very experienced referee in this league. Um, I've had an interaction with him. We've talked about it. There was that game that went to overtime against, I believe it was Harrisburg a couple seasons ago. Bo got taken down on a breakaway. He came over to review the call. I was in the beer garden and said something along the lines of, "Hey, maybe you could do your job right for once with video assistance." And he still didn't award the shootout, so, not high expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have this whole weekend where he's the senior referee in both games, and I, I, let's start with Friday, where you have the double blue card.
Yep.
Plays advantage on the first one.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Second one was a takedown in the box. Clear as day.
Very obvious.
No shock that should be a penalty kick and a Roscoe to the penalty box.
Right.
The first one was called as a delayed blue.
Mm-hmm.
I give it a blue. It's a soft blue.
It is a soft blue.
Very soft blue. The only reason I give it a blue is because there was no other defender there. So it was a tactical foul.
Right.
That would have prevented a goal scoring opportunity if it wasn't for advantage. If you say, well, he played advantage and didn't take away that goal scoring opportunity, what ultimately did that was the takedown in the box, then it's just a common foul.
Yeah.
I could see it going either way. Ultimately, though, that opened up the game for Utica quite a bit.
Oh, yeah. I mean, basically taking Empire down 2 players and awarding a shootout. I mean, that's tough. I mean, even just being down 1 player is tough, which they did end up ultimately being down 1 player. But, yeah, I mean, that just puts them in a seriously tough situation, whereas, I mean, it was, like you said, it was a very soft blue card for sure. And I mean, watching it back and then watching it under review, I mean, it just reinforces how soft of a blue that really was. And I don't know, it just was.
Yeah. No, watching it live at full speed, I was like, blue, oh, advantage. Oh my God, that's a takedown.
Yeah.
But then they went and looked at both of them, and it was like, okay, well, they're going to give them one. They're like, nope, they're giving them both. And I was happy but confused.
Yes. A good way to be.
Yeah. And then there were technical difficulties, and before you know it, you come back, and it's 8-6.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. Yeah.
It came back with, we missed the PK.
We got a nice view of the turf, though.
Yep, of the other goal.
Yeah, of the other goal.
And then it cuts back just in time to see them score the next goal.
Mm-hmm.
So new technical difficulties, not what you want on Golazo. Hopefully they're smoothed out and we don't have to deal with them for all 12 of Empire's home games.
Yeah, I'm sure that their team will be taking care of that. I'm pretty sure that was potentially a faulty camera because it's like, it was coming back and then it died and then it came back and it's like, okay, did somebody unplug it and plug it back in? Oh yes, and the commercials.
Mm-hmm.
The same 2 or 3 commercials over and over and over, which we're kind of used to with, Calafino tequila and the different training places and stuff. But this one was another breed.
Yeah. It was. And then you have the play at the end of the game. Really kind of confused me. Not confused in I think it was unwarranted. But confused, and I think the Orozco tackle live and on replay is a clear and obvious red, not a blue and a yellow. And I say that because he doesn't make a play on the ball. It stops a goal scoring opportunity. There's 6 seconds left in the game. Absolutely no reason for it.
Mm-hmm.
And he leads with his shoulder.
He did.
It's
he
not like a hip
literally...
check. It's not like I got in the way and blocked him. He leans in and throws his shoulder into Keaton.
Mm-hmm.
It's dangerous. Yes, Orozco will be serving a 1-game suspension for accumulated red. But I believe, like, there's no reason that needed to be a blue. No world in which that should be a blue and a yellow to begin with. Like, it was just a cheap, unnecessary, dangerous play.
I mean, while I can see that you would want to have a direct red there, I can also see how it was evaluated as well, only because it had resulted in the same thing.
Yes, it results in the same thing, but they get more points for a red card?
That's a good question. I don't know that answer. If he had just gotten, basically, if he had just gotten a straight red, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have that answer.
Penalty. Yeah, 1 point for a blue or a yellow, 2 for a red.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's 2 now because he got... So it's a total accumulation, which should give him 3, which, I mean, if it goes direct to a red, it's still 3.
Yeah, I was going to say, it kind of would end up being the...
And
it
I
still
know
would
it kind
just
of
about
ends
be
up
the
the same, but I think ultimately, I think it sends a different message. You know what I mean? Like, a blue and a yellow is, this is bad, and a red is, this is unacceptable.
Yellow, blue and a yellow is... A blue would be, this is bad. A blue and yellow is more like, this is really bad. And a red is, what are you doing with your life?
Like, what looks worse in hindsight? This or when the Strykers were in Utica a couple years ago and Frank stepped on Nillen?
Okay, you got me there, because that one, yes, he stomped on him, and yes, that was a problem, but this is... Considering also what it resulted in, I mean...
Like, this is
Keaton
a football play,
Keaton went into the boards. So,
yeah.
I mean, it was not only the initial play, but the resulting action that occurred. Yeah, I could see that being a straight blue.
Mm-hmm.
Or, sorry, straight red.
Straight red. So,
but you also can't argue with the fact that it still ended up getting there.
Ultimately, it's the same thing. But that's just conflicting goalkeeping within the same game.
Yeah.
You give a soft blue and then I would say a hard blue and yellow. So trying to find the middle ground, pin ground where you are, not really sure.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get into Sunday or Saturday. Oh my Lord. I'll just come out and say it. The flop by Jace, I saw live and it was obvious, and I was confused that we were getting the blue card called on Bond. Like, no, he threw his body. It was clear as day on the live feed. And I'm not 15 feet from the play with a clear line of sight.
Wait, on Bond?
Yeah, it was Taylor Walter Bond that was called for the blue that then got rescinded.
Oh,
because the moment he called it, he just goes, we're going to review that.
Yeah, because it ended up being an embellishment warning.
Right.
Yeah, no, that was...
That's supposed to look for, like, clear and obvious error. And if it's clear and obvious error, and you're the one that called it, and then immediately initiated the review, did you just realize what was wrong, or were you clueless and needed the video to figure it out?
It happened too fast.
I don't know.
I don't understand.
Because it was... Like, they got it right in the end. That's the important thing.
That is, yes. They did that once.
But then it just... like that was the dam breaking. You have Kiko Tan gets his shoe taken off on a tackle from behind.
Yeah.
And then they're like, no, you got to go to the bench for the 2 minutes. And he comes back and they give him a yellow card because it took. By the way, the rule is written, it's if a trainer is called. No trainer was called. I know it took more than 15 seconds, but it seems to violate the spirit of the rule, which is, if a player is faking an injury, he's not faking an injury. He's untying his shoe, adjusting the laces, getting it back on, and then retying it.
Oh, I guess I needed to reread that because I literally thought it was if they are down on the ground for more than 15 seconds, they have to go off.
It's if they're down on the ground for 15 seconds, you call the trainer. If the trainer's called, then they have to go off. Kind of, if if A happens, then B happens, and if B happens, then C happens, kind of thing. And the way that it was enforced was if A happens, then C happens. Like, I don't think he deserved that yellow.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm literally reading it right here.
And as of now, he's listed on the... Oh, no, he's not listed on the fines for a yellow card. Which I guess those are only reserved for dissent or misconduct.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I don't know if an illegal substitution would require the fine. That's kind of another iffy gray area that I don't think has been cleared up for the fans.
Right.
So you have that.
Yeah, I do see, exactly what you're saying. Like, I without rereading this, was under the impression that it was, if you're down for 15 seconds, you have to go off for 2 minutes. End of story. But rereading, seeing that, the ref would actually have to call the trainer, which, of course, in this case, he didn't because the guy's clearly not injured.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I could see them hitting him with would be like a delay of game warning.
Yeah.
Because he stayed down for so long, tying his shoe. It's like, okay, so should he have just gone off to get his shoe back on? I don't know. I see delay a game. I don't see him deserving the yellow.
Yeah. It's
I was surprised when they gave it to him. I'm like,
yeah.
Oh wow, okay.
And that brings us to the big one. The game-changing one.
Oh, we're not going to talk about the offsetting too many men into.
Those are just sloppy play from both teams.
Yeah, it was. I know. I was just teasing because it was like one gets called for it, and then literally 2 minutes later, the other one gets called for it.
The dumb challenges from both coaches.
Yeah, and then getting them back because apparently they were right, and it did change the call, sort of, but
they weren't 100% right, and then.
And so they gave him back, and it was oh my, yeah. Everyone was confused by that.
They got challenged.
The announcers, the I'm sure the fans, everyone's like, why do they have them back?
Salvaggio threw his twice in like 13 seconds.
He did. It was so quick. It was just like, I want to use it now.
The first one was iffy at best, and the second one was like, what are you looking at?
Yeah, what game are you watching? But yeah, go ahead. Take us there.
All right. Look, I will start by saying, live, watching this, I expected a whistle. Because I saw the arm go back, and I watched Pee-wee go down to the ground, and I saw him grab his face, and then I looked down the field, and I see Kelvin muscling another guy off, throwing him off with an elbow.
Yep.
It's like, all right, well, there's got to be another foul, and they didn't call that foul. And then the ball bounced off the boards and headed in, and oh my God, game over. Utica wins.
Oh!
And then they're like, oh, actually, we need to review something. It happened 6 seconds ago. we don't really have a great camera angle to make it conclusive. We see an elbow come back, we see a head react. Now, is that the head just dodging the elbow? The official on the far sideline had a clear line of view, didn't call anything.
Yeah, which he was even praised as being,
in the right position.
In the right position and a pretty reliable referee by
Mm-hmm.
Sigich.
So, what are we doing? Because as the way the rule is written, it says the refs are supposed to make a call for them to review it. They didn't call that a foul. They didn't call it a blue card. They didn't call anything. In fact, they made no call.
Right.
There wasn't even a hand in the air for like a delayed penalty because, duh, Utica had the ball. You can't play advantage to Utica if they're the one making the foul.
Right.
What are you guys doing?
Yeah, and for those that are curious, this is verbatim from the rule book. The referees must always make a decision/call on the field prior to VR. The referee is not permitted to give a no decision and then use VR to make a call, which is exactly what happened here. There was no call, and then we need to use VR quick, and then go make a call. That's not what this is designed to do.
The moment that happened, no, the game was over either way.
Yeah.
Whether they agreed and let the goal stand or took it away. Because you just sucked all the emotion and momentum out of Utica.
Yep.
And it took less than a minute, and the game was over. And yes, the challenge flags made the refs a bigger part of it than they needed to be in the first half specifically.
Oh, it was so unwatchable. The first half.
Steve, that's a good question. Does the overtime VR rule trump that rule? And it's not clearly written. It just says that the VR rule is that in overtime, the officials are the only ones that can call for VR.
Well, so here's my thing. Here's my thing with that. And I didn't get a chance to go back and watch overtime. I didn't want to because it was painful. If I remember correctly, neither team used their challenge in overtime.
No, neither team could. They'd already thrown them twice.
Well, I thought they got them back in overtime.
No, they changed it so that only the officials can initiate an overtime challenge.
If the game proceeds to overtime, no challenges will carry over from overtime. Each team will be permitted one challenge during overtime.
That's weird because they said on the broadcast that only the official could initiate. Or no, under review.
It's in the rules. That's why I was sitting there. So here's
Sigich said on under review that only the officials could initiate in overtime.
Where did I just look at this? Page 31 of the rule book. If the game proceeds to overtime, no challenges will carry over from overtime or from regulation. Makes sense. Each team will be permitted one challenge during overtime regardless of the number of overtime periods played. Therefore, rule number 2 comes into effect because neither team challenged. In the last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter and in overtime, the referee can initiate a VR if a team has already used their challenge. The referee must have a strong sense that a clear and obvious error has been made and the incident has a potential major impact on the game. A referee-initiated VR can only be used if the team no longer has a challenge flag available. So they violated 2 rules. They can't make a decision. They can't use VR to make a decision on a no call. And they shouldn't have even been able to use their VR because San Diego did not challenge. Not to say that they wouldn't have, but they needed to do it, not the ref.
Right, so if they initiate the challenge, I think we're still left at the same problem, which is...
But they didn't.
Inconclusive video.
But they didn't have to.
With no definitive angle was used to decide this game.
Sorry, I was just really surprised that you didn't know that. You didn't know that part. I'm like, I knew that part
Oh,
because
I
I
was going
read.
off of either what was said on. Uh, I just watched both games and under review today, so I have a lot in my head on rules, and they're all over the place.
I feel pretty good.
Yeah, like I
I
mean,
saw something you didn't.
if San Diego throws, if they're giving back their challenge flags as according to the rule book they should be,
Yes.
then San Diego should have thrown that challenge flag immediately. It would have gone and got picked up. We would have seen it get picked up.
Mm-hmm.
But that
And
didn't
Utica wouldn't
happen.
have been celebrating, and
Right.
things wouldn't have been. I think that things would have been different. We wouldn't have been out there being like, yeah, because we
Yeah.
would have seen the flag and been like, hold on, don't get excited. Yes, we scored, but they also challenged.
Mhm.
Keep your heads in the game, because that's what happened. We took our heads out of the game right after that. I mean, that
Yeah.
was. I don't know.
They seem contradictory.
They did.
I mean, the rule book itself seems contradictory.
This whole league is contradictory.
Yeah. Ultimately, what needs to happen is the league needs to make a statement. And if they don't, that's a joke. Like, we talk about this league as trying to be serious, and they finally have a TV contract.
Mhm.
And your two games on national broadcast this week were marred by technical difficulties and suspect officiating.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there's been no statement. Now, maybe it'll be made internally, which, if that happens, that's something.
It is something. I agree.
But not making it publicly just continues to give your fan base less reason to trust you.
Yeah.
And we already have enough of that.
Now,
From the, every team will be back to getting the schedule without Monterey and nothing gets addressed there,
mm-hmm.
to two teams buying into another team, and then all of a sudden the best players from that team get shipped to those other teams or through them to acquire even more talent for those other teams.
Mm-hmm.
It's just Phil Salvaggio, you're one of the richest owners in the league. You just built this stadium. You couldn't put a camera well on the opposite side
Yeah.
to have angles covered.
Yeah.
You spent money on a drone that is highly distracting.
And also really makes you sick to your stomach when you have it
it's
on
awful.
there for
Terrible
an extended
idea.
period.
Negative 10 out of 10. Like, if something happens and somehow my luck turns around and I magically have the money to fly there for the playoffs, I'm bringing a net and I will take that thing out of the sky. Also, it will be the only net in the building because some reason you didn't invest in nets behind the goalpost. So we have to keep hearing about how your LED board keeps getting broken
That poor
instead
banner.
of the game going on.
That poor banner. It took so much abuse. Every time that somebody shot in that corner and it went out like that, I mean, it was just like it took another hit.
Now the ball's out of play for longer, so I'm just stepping over dollars to pick up dimes.
I do want to say one thing. Yes, we're complaining about how this was officiated. I'm not, at least from my perspective, I'm not. The game ended the way it did.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we lost. I'm not complaining about the fact that we lost. I'm just complaining about the fact of how this was called and the fact that it shouldn't really have been called that way based on the rules that are set forth on this league.
Yes.
But the fact that yes, things got called back. If it had been called the way it should have been,
mm-hmm.
because I mean, I know that you said that you weren't totally sold on it being a foul. I think it was a foul. I think that it should have been whistled dead right then and there, and we deal with it. And it didn't. That's how it should have been done. And then if they went and turned around and scored after that, so be it. That's how it should have played out. It shouldn't have had this huge roller coaster that literally took the wind out of our sails. And I mean, what do you do at that point? You can't just be like, all right, we got to get back into game mode here after we just think that we beat the Strykers, which is a ridiculous feat in this league because they are consistently top performing team.
No, if you blow that dead and call it a foul and then, it gets challenged, or even if you call it a blue card and then review it and say it's just a common foul because you don't have enough video evidence to turn it over or whatever.
Right.
That's fine, because there wasn't enough video evidence either way to turn it.
Right.
It's inconclusive at best, and that's the frustrating part.
Yes.
Is you're supposed to have video evidence that overturns a clear and obvious error. The clear and obvious error was that you didn't blow your whistle when you should have.
Right.
At a moment that one of the most diehard Utica fans thought, like, crap, here we go. Because I saw it live, and I saw a foul.
Yep, same.
It's only when I saw the camera angle that I went, you don't have an angle that actually shows contact. You can't overturn this.
Yeah, I was like, there's not enough evidence there to show an overturn. I mean, I did make a comment in one of the I think it was our post, just basically talking about the fact that, in the review or in the when you slow it down to like, I slowed it down to like, quarter speed, whatever YouTube allows. And I mean, it definitely, in my opinion, looked like there may have been contact because you see his elbow coming back, you see Calvin's elbow coming back, and then instead of kind of smoothly coming back and like stopping, like as if he's running, it came back and it stopped abruptly, which in my mind indicates contact with something, because what is it, the one of the rules of an object in motion stays in motion unless acted on by the
second fundamental law of physics.
Yes, I knew I was getting there. It's just I couldn't remember it, but it was acted on by an outside force, his face. So I could see it being that call, and on the video, to me, it looks like it should definitely be a call.
Yeah,
but it was just executed completely wrong. So that's my main complaint.
Yeah, no, I'm not mad that it ended up in a loss. I mean, we stole a point. That is far more than I expected.
We took a point, and neither one of us called it that we were going to have a point coming out of that game.
It's and that's not that we were underestimating Utica. I think we were overestimating San Diego.
Yeah, I mean, you could say it that way. You could put it that way.
They mentioned on the broadcast, Utica looked like the fresher team in the fourth quarter and overtime.
Which plays into the fact that I think their conditioning is
phenomenal,
much improved over previous seasons. I mean, the fact that they not only performed the way they did, they reminded me of a Chihuahua, like of Chihuahua that we've seen in any game that we've watched them in. You think they can go for like 8 quarters. I mean, these guys went for 4 on Friday night, and they went for 4 more on Saturday, and played their butts, or 5 on Saturday, and they played their butts off. And it's like, the fact that these guys went as hard as they did for as long as they did is a testament to their conditioning this season, for sure. So I don't know what they're doing. I don't know if they're, eating their Wheaties or what, but keep doing it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's where we are on the officiating, is
same place we always are.
Please clarify what happened. Please give the league an ounce of credibility here. I'm not even saying admit it was wrong and change things. Just clarify.
Yes.
If it was correct, great. If it was wrong, fine. But explain what happened.
Yeah, we're not looking for an overturn here. We're not. I mean,
I'm sure
I could see it.
The team is. I'm
sure the team might be, but
because if we get to the end of the season and at 1 point decides the seeding, we're going to look at this game and just go,
there's the point.
We got butlered.
Okay, let me speak for myself. I'm not looking for this game to be overturned. I'm just looking for, like you said, I'm looking for clarification as to what the heck happened and how we can avoid doing that in the future. Yeah. That's what I want.
But that's enough about that. Until we have, God, every year I'm hopeful we can get a few weeks without talking about officials, and then
it didn't take long.
December comes around and they're like, actually, guys,
surprise.
The teams might have gotten better. We didn't. Speaking of teams that might have gotten better, Harrisburg play them Saturday, and they just announced that Hugo Silva's visa has been cleared and he will be available to play,
which is kind of cool. I'm actually glad to see he's going to be able to play. I mean, we haven't seen him since Florida in like the 2023 season?
2022.
Yes.
His last game was the playoff game that they lost to Baltimore.
Yes. But
that was the last we saw of him.
Yeah, so it will be nice to actually see him on the field again.
That is their biggest update since we've talked about them previously. They lost 6-8 to start the season. Joey Tavernese had 3 goals in that game. Playing at the barn, which is always interesting. How do we see things going for Utica?
I don't know. They're going to have those fancy Christmas sweater
I know.
jerseys. If you haven't seen them,
ugly Christmas sweater.
Yeah,
no, they're gorgeous.
I have basically decided I don't care whose I get. I want one. I will absolutely, like, I know who I'm aiming for, but I also will settle for literally anyone. I don't care. I just want to own one because they are pretty.
My God, Utica. I know I ask for it every year. Please, one of these years, just give us them. They look so good.
I want to see. We need to have Hawaiian shirt jerseys. It needs to happen. If we can't get ugly Christmas sweater, give us Hawaiian shirt jerseys and make them good.
Yeah, I need like blue palm trees and soccer balls on a repeating pattern jersey.
And I'm sorry, I know I got off track, but those I want one. I get it. I want one of those jerseys. And if you haven't seen them, go to the Harrisburg's Twitter page or Facebook page and look at them. They are pretty. Anyway, so I'll be honest, I don't know how much of a difference Hugo Silva is really going to make for this team. I mean, unfortunately, Harrisburg has been kind of the joke of the league the joke of the East for a few years now, and because we're all one league, they are kind of the butt of the joke for a lot of it. They have some highlights, obviously. Never underestimate Peter Pan, Joey Tavernese. Never underestimate Dominic Francis. And I mean, they also have Adriano dos Santos now, which is kind of I don't want to say a wild card for them, but I mean, we've only basically seen him play against Baltimore in basically his old turf. So I mean, a lot. They also lost a lot of well, not a lot, but they lost one of their best defenders, in my opinion, which was Robert Patterson. Patterson. I think it's Patterson. I don't remember.
Williamson.
Thank you, Sid. Thank you, Sid. Whoa, man, my brain is. I'm fried this week.
Dude, I'm right there with you.
The lead up to the holidays is just. I'm so fried. Yeah. Where did I even come up with Pat? I don't even know. Anyway.
I don't know. You were like combining Pat Thompson's name into one word.
I think I was literally going for like Robert Pattinson. I think I was going full Twilight on us.
Look, you could at least say that. Been a while since we've had one of those. You okay, Katie? Yeah, I know. You did the whole thing. But Paul pointed out. Your whole body does that.
But either way, like, you know, they have some offensive talent.
Mm-hmm.
Again, specifically looking at Dom Francis, I mean, he's always a one to watch, and he's definitely going to be somebody that's going to be marked. And Joey, we know what he does. Back corner, that's where you will find Joey, and he will capitalize on that if you let him.
Yes, sir.
So, you know, these are going to be two guys that we need to watch. Hugo Silva in my opinion, is kind of a wild card, frankly. You know, if, you know, it's been a while since he played. I mean, is he going to come back and be Hugo Silva, or is he going to come back and, you know, we think that, you know, they actually didn't get Hugo Silva back. They got, you know, him from Temu. So, I mean, even looking back at like the 2022 season, he didn't play that much. He played 6 games.
Yeah, he had
in
visa
total.
issues that year too.
I know. So it's like, you know, he has not played that much. Even he hasn't played that much really since the 2021 season. I mean, that's the most he played was in that season with like 13 games. So I think he's a wild card. I think he can absolutely come back and help this team, which they kind of need some help, because unfortunately, you know, the defense isn't the best.
Mm-hmm.
It never really has been. But they need whatever help they can get. And if he helps them, great. I'm happy for them. But I don't think in our case, I don't know if it's really going to help that much considering how many offensive weapons we have to use.
Yeah.
So,
what's your score line?
I'm going to go 8-5 Utica.
Okay.
With 4 of those coming from Kelvin.
Four goal day for Kelvin, huh?
Yep.
El Golden Sombrero. At least that's what they call it in baseball. When you get 4.
Okay.
You know, instead of a hat trick, Golden Sombrero.
I just see him. I see him potentially. You know, if they allow him to. I mean, I see. Okay, let me actually back up on that. I see 2 things happening. Number 1, I see him getting 4. On the other hand, I see him potentially getting a couple and then resting. Not that they even need to, but just he doesn't need to. He might not necessarily need to exert the effort, and just, you know, don't waste your best performing player.
Yeah. So
needlessly.
Don't mind the keyboard strokes. I'm just working through some DMs with the potential guest.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You will work it out, and I mean, yeah. Potentially as early as Friday, we might be coming back with a show if this gentleman is willing. We can work out a time schedule.
Fun.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll just tease that here. So you're saying 8-4? 8-5?
Yes.
Sorry,
8-4. 8-4.
Oh, you changed it 8-4.
No.
It was 8-5.
Yes,
8-5.
Why you got it confused? Yes,
because I have my scores in my brain, and spoiler alert: Harrisburg gets 4.
Okay, +3. Yes, 8-5.
Okay. Look, we saw Utica dominate Harrisburg last year. Not much has changed.
Mm-hmm.
Hugo Silva makes him a little bit better, obviously.
Most likely.
If you look through Hugo's stat line, last time he was in Harrisburg, he allowed 6 goals per game. His first year in Florida, he allowed almost 7 goals per game. The year after that is when Florida ownership just said, shut up and take my money, and tried to buy a championship, and his goals allowed per game dropped to 4.14 and stayed under 5 because of that investment in guys like Chad Vandergriff and Ricardo Cavallo and excuse me, Zach Reggett and all those other pieces that were there.
Yeah.
Harrisburg doesn't have them.
No.
Utica's good. Utica's a lot better than I think a lot of people were expecting. I'm not saying they're better than what I was expecting, but Harrisburg's pretty much what we expect. A lot of those goals they got in Baltimore kind of came during garbage time. The game was out of reach. Baltimore took their foot off the pedal a little bit.
Yeah.
Utica 9-4.
Going higher and lower.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You're saying full-on blowout.
Oh, yeah. I'm going full-on blowout. I'm saying let Ronnie, let Keaton, let Isak, let them boys run.
Okay. Maybe we see a first goal from Vinny?
I think they put Dos Santos on him just because he knows him so well. I'm going to say 2 assists.
Okay. All right. Fair. I could give you that.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to see. I want to see him get a goal.
I would love to see him get a goal. He very well might in this game.
He's gotten his first point. Now we need to see him get his first goal in Utica Blue.
But yeah, I will happily take him just laying the ball off to guys on a breakaway.
Yeah.
2-on-1 situations. Let him. Let's feast.
Yes.
All right. That's what we got. That's everything for tonight. We'll come back next week to see if Brandon can make up some ground after a disappointing first week for his predictions.
I'm like never right.
I've been wildly wrong as well. So the fact that I was that close, I was like, ooh, I think I might have things keyed in, but not having a good idea on what Baltimore or Harrisburg, because they're always kind of, will they show up and compete or will they just roll over? You never know based on the game. We'll just see.
Yeah, I mean,
we don't know how Hugo changes them, really.
The main thing for them is that they know their turf.
They do. They know where the little divots and bounces and everything are from when the horses ran through last time.
Boing, boing, boing. Just watching the ball bounce.
All right. Yeah, that's everything for us.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can work something out next week. We'll see. If not, we'll just type out some predictions for Harrisburg and do probably a triple game recap after New Year's.
Or potentially more to come this week.
Yeah, potentially. We just gotta keep chit-chatting along here.
Yeah.
But until next time, as stated at the beginning, he's Brandon. I'm Matt. Get on our socials, leave 5-star reviews, go check out the TeePublic store. It is what it is. And it is a Utica 4-point weekend in California, which is quite a success.
Yes. Big success.
So, Saturday, 7 o'clock, Harrisburg, YouTube, not Golazo.
And it's also not a late game, so you have no excuse to not stay up and watch it.
Exactly. All right, until next time, go Utica.
Saw!
Thank you for listening to the Keeper's Corner podcast on whatever podcast app you use. Please make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. If you'd like to interact with us, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Twitter or X, whatever you prefer to call it. We have a TeePublic shop where you can get UCFC player swag or help support the podcast. Thank you. We appreciate it. And one last thing, go Utica City.